Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Wang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Wang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be nine? I've always wanted to live in the neighborhood with you, so let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is the good day to be alive here. Somewhere in the Maryland state is your boy Kim Wang, the Asian sensation, and we're here rocking out, cooking, and serving another great episode that is the Kim Wang Podcast Experience, coming at you live in an undisclosed location in Maryland. And, shout out to Mr. Rogers, because, I felt like singing your jingle. So, my guy. And, we're here. Every time that I'm creating content and I'm doing things, I feel happy. I feel motivated. I feel like the creative juices are flowing. And that's good. So, shout out to all my creators out there. Whether if you're an actor, if you're a producer or director, if you're a musician, podcasters, where you at, anything that you do that is with the word, associated with the word, an action of creativity, this one's for you. So I'm really excited, to be honest with you. This episode was something in the blueprint for quite a while, and with my guest and we were talking about it, and we just kind of figured, like, if there was ever a moment to do it, this is it. Obviously, let's just go ahead and get to it, because I'm pretty excited about it. Obviously he is an alumni guest of the Kim Wang Podcast Experience. He has been here twice. Once where, we actually interviewed him solo, which was really cool. And the other time was when, I had him and another guest of mine. We just had like a cool joint project together, of a joint episode where we were just, doing it up and having fun. And that was probably the best time, in my podcasting at that point, because, it was with two people that I knew that, I have a beautiful relationship with, that are my brothers, not only in the martial arts, but in life. So it just wasn't even at that time, during that time, it wasn't even like we made an episode. It was more like we were catching up, And I think that that's the best way to approach podcasting sometimes, especially like if you know the person, you're not interviewing. I feel like you're just catching up and talking and just, kicking it and so forth. Without any further delay, for the second time as a solo guest, but third time being an overall guest, I have with me my good friend, my good brother, excellent martial artist who was a grand champion in many years ago in sparring, and even most recently we'll talk about his latest ventures. Once again, he is an author of a book called Beneath the Ice, Poems from the Deepest, which you can get if you have Amazon Prime for $14.95 on a physical paperback, or for those that are technologically sound, if you got a Kindle, according to this, you can get it for $3. So that's not bad. So for the one time here in his lovely estate, We have the man, the myth, the legend, OZ in the place to be. Omar J. Richter is in the house. Bro, what's going on, big time?
Oh, Kim, how are you feeling, my brother?
Hey, it's, you know what? Thank you for inviting us in your home. I mean, the one thing that I definitely say a lot and I compliment a lot is that when I step in this home, it's definitely a home that oozes a lot of creativity.
I appreciate that. Yeah, this is the mini manor. This is where we make all the magic.
Right.
This is where we train the kids and where we try to get our creative juices flowing as well. I loved what you said when you were just first jumping us off, that like whenever you're doing this craft, you feel joy.
Yeah.
You feel excited about life. And I think that's really important as a message to start off the conversation, that people will do better at the thing they love if they're feeling great.
Yeah.
And it's kind of... It seems like it should be obvious where when you're feeling great, you should go do the thing you love.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we're feeling great, we forget that that's the great opportunity to capitalize on the creativity.
Yeah.
And to create when we're feeling great.
Right.
You know?
I get that.
But thanks for having me on again. This is an exciting conversation. As you mentioned, we've been looking forward to having the next episode, and now we got a bunch of stuff to talk about.
You know, I kind of feel like this is kind of like an analogy. Let's say, for example, like, you know, I was, if, you know, for in the world of martial arts, if I was sparring you for the first time ever, and let's say, you know, obviously you beat me like clearly, decisively, and now this is the rematch. You know, the round two, if it is. I mean, that's just the way that I'm seeing it at the moment. Maybe I'm a little bit more tunnel vision with it. I could have done better with the analogy, but that's the analogy that I'm thinking of right now.
No problem. It's kind of the opposite of what I'm thinking, because I'm still new at putting the headphones on and sitting down and having a conversation where someone, you know, teases out of me some of the knowledge and some of the wisdom, asks me to present it for the next generation.
Yeah.
It's more difficult than somebody would think to be put on the spot and asked how they feel, and then you try to come from your heart to express yourself, and then you're like, I'm going to listen to this back later. What will I sound like? What should I say? Mm-hmm. And just put all that to the side.
Yeah.
And just come from the heart. And so I feel that, you know, you've been doing this podcasting a lot. You're getting super tight with all the equipment and setting everything up.
I'm getting a better understanding, and I think with my style, I'm slowly starting to be comfortable in my podcasting skin.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, it reflects on social media and stuff as we are networking more and more. We're picking up little things here and there from whatever your tactics are. I know Meg's paying a lot of attention, so it's been super cool. It's starting to network, you know?
Yeah. I feel like in that respect, Megan is the more technological savvy person when it comes to social media and the rules and, you know, the engagement and what to do and what not to do in that arena.
100%. Yeah, she's our behind the scenes player.
Okay.
And she's killing it.
How do you think that you would fit in the mix? Are you just more like you're supervising of what she's kind of like judging in the social media aspect, or do you just feel like, well, you just do whatever you want?
Well, our team kind of unfolds like I have some raw creative stuff, and then she'll maybe make it into a little bit more of a definable vision.
Right.
So I write a lot, I channel a lot, I journal a lot, and we're both snapping pictures like crazy of anything fun or beautiful or magical we see. And then when we want to put those things together, oftentimes I have kind of like a distinct feeling of like, this is what we should use this week or what we should say, and then she'll figure out how it can really be presented in the right way. Like you say, you know, what to do and what not to do with certain pieces of content, so they can hopefully come across like the art we want them to be.
Right. Now, if I remember correctly, the website is thinktheexcellentthought.com.
Correct.
And on Instagram, Imagine Excellence 1.
Correct.
Right. Okay, cool.
And on YouTube, we're Imagine Excellence as well.
Okay.
So
that's what the three main weapons of your social media gathering and so forth.
Currently, right now, yes, we're trying to invite some people to find us on patron if they'd like to support.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working on some of our inspirational apparel, so that's going to be coming out pretty soon too.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and catch up a little bit from like the last time, because I feel like, the last time was a good icebreaker, although it definitely left a lot of pages in the book to be written, like more chapters. Like it was just like it was only book 1. Mm-hmm. Now we're on book 2. So, we talked, and to review a little bit, we talked a little bit about yourself, you growing up in Maryland, you being a creative person with, parents that were all into, music and creativity in that way. Mm-hmm. And then later on, going to, for the first time, go for being a martial artist, with being a student with AMAC, because according to Omar, AMAC was under the A's of the Yellow Pages, so that's how we found him. And you and the whole family were students of Annapolis Martial Arts Center. We touched up a little bit on the day that you actually won the grand championship in men's sparring, and then being the first one in the family to be promoted to the higher level of black belt at 3rd degree black belt. And we were just talking a little bit about your sons, the next generation of Richter men. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now we are here now. So I guess to start it off, I mean, what made you want to come back? Because obviously, a lot of people in certain areas of their martial arts life, it's like, hey, this is as far as I can take it. I don't feel like I have anything else to do or anything else to prove. Maybe it's time to just saddle up and ride into the sunset. So what made you want to ride back into town?
Great question. When you invited us to come to the test, Mr. Johnson's grandson was testing for his black belt. Yeah. And that was a bit of an invitation that I didn't think we could accept, because we had a plan to go up to New York and visit my brother, mm-hmm. because they had just had their new baby.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so then there was crazy, the way the story was, there was leaking in the foundation wall at our house. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of made us feel a little bit more tied to the property, because we were shop vacuuming it out and we weren't really sure how extensive the problem was going to be. We didn't really want to leave our house with it mm-hmm. leaking in the basement. Yeah. So that put us in town and all of a sudden available to come to the test. So God kind of orchestrated that. And we wanted the kids to dress nice. We told them, wake up and dress sharp.
Oh, yeah.
But when we woke up in the morning, they were dressed in their Sunday's best, And so that inspired me and Meg to dress up as well. So when we came out to the test, we were all dressed really nicely, and we had a fantastic time. And Mr. Johnson approached me after the test, and he said he really appreciated how we showed up. And I didn't realize the nature of the way that the day was going to be. Yeah. I had been away long enough to kind of forget that the ceremony side of the black belt test, mm-hmm. and by us showing up dressed to impress in that way and adding, my boys, their attention, Mr. Johnson invited me to sit at the black belt table with you guys.
Course. Yeah, of course.
So I got to help judge, and it felt like no time had passed. And he said some really cool things about me and Amos there, at the table, and the whole experience, and Terrell's promotion. And it just sparked so much. It sparked so many things in my heart, probably more than I realized that day. Yeah. And I was already starting to kick in a little bit with you and refreshing some forms. Yeah. In a joyful effort to make sure I was going to pass on the art the right way to the next generation. Yeah. And then, of course, seeing Mr. Johnson at the test gave me an opportunity to ask him if it would be okay for me to bring the boys to the class. Right. And he said, yeah. And so then, we're going to unfold a little bit more of how that has become history, because once we started coming back, then it just was a fit. Yeah. My boys added to the class in a beautiful way, partnered up with some of the other students who are similar rank, similar size, mm-hmm. and started to create that, training partner phenomenon that we experienced back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
and not necessarily wanting to keep up with them, but just wanting to be in my best shape. And I love the martial arts. And then next thing you know, man, I've evoked the love that was even deeper than I realized. Like some of what we talked about on our first conversation about when I first started and how it impacted me so positively to help me with my temper and my attitude and some of those things. It's just really near and dear to my heart. It changed my life. Being a martial artist is a profound honor and something that I don't take lightly.
Yeah.
And so I hope that shows when I'm training and when I'm performing and stuff. But now I'm just back to enjoy it as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Maybe stay in it long enough to find another promotion or something, you know? So that's exciting.
You had to admit, when you came over to the test and you saw the test, you had to admit that probably brought in a lot of great memories.
100, man. Absolutely. When Terrell saw me, he came over, he got welled up in his eyes. It was like, it was a real experience of the heart. He was meeting my children for the first time.
Right.
Like I said, you didn't know for 100% if he was going to be testing. So
right, because that was in the air still.
And then when we linked up after the test, because he came over for the ice plunge, and we got to talk about that moment a little bit, him and I, and for him, it was a little bit of a he wasn't sure. So it was really an awesome moment that we showed up because he felt a lot of support because of that.
Oh, like, yeah.
You know, he was just working his hardest to be ready, feel ready. And then, you know, that was an awesome moment all the way around. That was so awesome. And then my kids got to see some of the stuff that they were going to be learning soon. They got to see how maybe, you know, comparing yourself to yourself all the time is tough. When you see a few other students, you're like, oh, maybe I'm doing a little better than I thought. And, you know, they thought they could handle it. And so that was really awesome as well. But now it just feels like family like it used to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It just feels like family all over again. So it's rad.
I could see, like, you know, from the judges table, looking at your sons, that, like, literally their eyes were popping out of their heads because they were so excited and they were so jazzed and pumping and awe to see, you know, what was happening.
Absolutely.
You know, and the fact that it's like, hey, we had a similar experience because, you know, prior we tested for our next promotion. You know, we tested for yellow belt, we tested for green belt, and now to see it from a different perspective of, like, you know, these guys are now, you know, testing for a green belt, and one student is testing for blue belt and so forth, and even a black belt exam. It's like, wow, we got a lot more than we bargained for today. Like, we just thought that we were just coming for a regular test. We didn't think that we were going to get like this and the whole enchilada. Yeah,
a simple experience turned into a reunion, turned into integration.
Right.
And now it's their training experience, which is so cool because, like, I think we mentioned this when we were talking the other day, like, I thought they were third generation, meaning I was going to have learned from Mr. J and they were going to have learned from me. Mr. J was going to have learned from Kiwei and Kim. So,
right.
You know, but all of a sudden, them coming to class, then they're getting the primary amount of their instruction now from Mr. J with, you know, the other black belts, Mr. Dillard, yourself, myself. We're still their instructors too, but
yeah,
it's been kind of really special to eliminate that middle man and have them learning from the same
teacher,
same awesome instructor that we've had that just cares,
yeah,
and has demonstrated excellence and has, you know, allowed the art to grow and change, and just, it's really something that means a lot to them, I know, and it means a lot to me as well. So
what do you think their impressions were when they actually met Mr. Johnson for the first time?
Probably like a little bit like all of us, a little intimidated because he's such a powerful guy.
Yeah,
but I think they really love him, you know. I think they're on his soft side, but he's still good and strict with them when he needs to be. So that's awesome. That's his nice teaching style.
Yeah.
But he's really been welcoming for them and jokes around with them a little bit, and, you know, it's been really fun.
Now, the boys were actually kicking it with us before they actually went into AMAC formally. So we were actually training with them for quite a bit, normally on Sundays over at Kicked Up Fitness.
Yep, got them ready for that nice yellow belt test that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, Elon was testing for his green belt.
Correct.
Yeah. And how did you know at that point? It's like, I think it's time, guys, that, we need to take you where Dad and Kim got their education.
Well, I don't necessarily know that it was quite that clear, but I think it just naturally occurred that there was more opportunities rather than just once a week on the weekends. Weekends are tough sometimes too.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't only once a week because we train at home all the time whenever we want,
For sure, yeah.
Sparring through the kitchen basically used to. Martial arts is like all day, every day.
Yeah.
But in terms of that, yeah, that was a nice opportunity to put it into their homeschool regime, like 2 days a week. We're going to do training.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, also made me realize, well, hey, that's opportunity for me 2 days a week. As a grown man, you're like, if you don't put it on your schedule, you're probably not really going to get around to it.
Yeah.
And that's important. And 1 day a week is oftentimes just not quite enough to see the progress you'd like to see or to maintain what you'd like to maintain.
Yeah.
So really 2 days a week or more on something, I think, is appropriate. And then, of course, for us, if we get together on the weekend, sometimes then it becomes closer to every other day. I think that's a sweet spot because you get a day on, a day for recovery, a day on, a day for recovery.
Yep.
That's a little bit of what's being revealed for me as I'm getting back into training, meaning like, this is what I think about it. I care about it. I'm training with the kids, they're kicking at me in the morning and all that type of stuff and try to wake up and be flexible and stretch and everything. What is my level of recovery? Like, how much time do I need in between when I can go hard and then when I need to rest? And so
Yep.
I think that's a moving target a little bit throughout one's life and throughout one's training experience,
Yeah.
So that's been a cool challenge to step into.
Yeah. Did you feel like you saw like a change once they made the transition of like just training with us, every Sunday or every other Sunday to actually training in AMAC?
100%. Yes, they're a lot more focused, and they kind of like almost. I want to say they took ownership more of it for themselves.
Right.
Where me being interested in training with my friend Kim was like something they were. Oh, can we come a little? Or then when we were including them, that was nice. But when it's karate night, when it's training night, they're like, training night, Dad. Boom,
Yeah.
They're in it for themselves, and
they're definitely locked in.
Yeah, I appreciate what the class has done for them in that way of like creating the schedule and giving them all the chance to say, yes, we're doing this. And then every now and then there's a shot where they could go when another brother isn't up for it. If there's an injury or a conflict of schedules, there's still some reliable time. Well, they don't have to miss out because someone else wasn't going to go, So that's how it was. If we just do it only as a family, then sometimes if it's not convenient for one person, then maybe we choose not to go.
Right.
But when we're going over the class, like, well, Dad's going, I'm going to take whoever's ready, whoever's feeling it tonight. And a couple times someone says, I'm not feeling tonight, and then they end up getting their bag and getting in the car anyway. They don't want to miss out. So that's the good peer pressure.
Yeah.
And I think that's been part of what's happened since going back to AMAC. There's more structure. There's a little more positive peer pressure. There's that more intense instruction, but from someone else, so it's kind of easier to receive.
Yep.
And it also gives me something to lean on when we're at home training. I can say, remember what Mr. Johnson said at class?
Yep.
And I'm actually just reinforcing the instruction versus delivering it.
Yeah.
And that's received differently from offspring, from your own children.
Yeah.
So
let's talk a little bit, still, heading in the martial arts direction.
Sure.
You recently competed. Or let me rephrase that. You and your sons, every single one of them, competed in an invitational tournament in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, thrown by Grandmaster Robert Zhang. How did this get into the scope? Like, how did you know about it, and what were your thoughts, before even making that final decision of wanting to compete?
I like all those questions, Kim. It came about basically by Mr. Johnson telling me about it and asking kind of casually if I thought Elon specifically, but maybe the other guys also would be interested in competing or going to watch for the experience. And the conversation kind of moved around casually until it was the question of what form I might do if I was going to compete.
Okay.
And thinking back to that conversation, I chuckle every time. So how did it get from would my child want to compete to what would I do if I was going to compete? But
right.
What would I do? I think it would have to be Goon Sangoon Okinawa style.
Right.
So then I needed to review it. So Lily helped me review it. And then I just started training on it, and we were thinking about it for a couple of days. And to touch on that, what did you think before you locked in on the decision? I thought, what if I get hurt? I thought, man, that's a good amount of coin I don't have right now.
Yeah.
For the cost to make sure all the kids had uniforms and equipment and hotel and travel expenses and food and registration and et cetera, et cetera. So there was that. There was, it's cold. It's February.
Yeah.
Just a lot of things that I felt, man, too much. But then there's that weird, what's pulling me then? Like, what if it's that many things that's saying don't do it, then why am I feeling like something in me wants to do it?
Right.
And so I had to really reflect and realize that there's been multiple times throughout the years that I've mused. I wonder what it would be like,
Yeah.
Go out there one more time.
One more time. Yeah.
Because I love karate. I love the martial arts. So I was stressed about it a little bit. And one day I said to Meg, I have to make all the decisions. I was kind of upset. And she responded, because that hurt her feelings as my spouse.
Yeah.
I really don't make all the decisions. Let's be clear about that. We make the decisions together. And
right.
I rely on her heavily for those good decisions to be made. So
sure.
That comment was like a bit insulting. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, there's a couple questions about these two bills, and then this, should I go to this tournament? And she was like, yes to all of them, So that was like, okay. And I felt, I don't know if you've played, there's this one card game called Samba Canasta, and both people you play teams.
Okay.
And you're not allowed to talk to your teammate about what they have in their hand, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very end of a hand, you could ask your teammate if they would like you to go out, because sometimes it's advantageous to go out, sometimes it's not. Your teammate might be like, no, I got good stuff, hold on.
Right.
It's the only question you're allowed to ask your teammate, but then the caveat is you have to listen to what they say.
Right.
So if you want to make your own decision, you don't ask your teammate, you just do your decision.
Right.
If you ask them their decision, then you have to follow it. So in that way, I felt I had given her the power of the decision by asking her. So once she told me definitively, yes, you should go,
right,
then it didn't matter that I felt a little uncomfortable or all of those other challenges. I had to honor that was our team's decision. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So once the decision was made, then it was, okay, we only have 25 days and we need to
get prepared.
So on like Donkey Kong, we got to train.
Yeah, right. Right.
So we started doing that. We started getting up early, me and the boys. We were running, around the parking lot, or rather the block, or whatever, the parking lot.
Sure. Yeah.
The neighborhood. And we were kicking on the deck, and we cleared out the basement space. We hung paper towel, like toilet paper rolls.
No way.
Yeah, man. From shoestrings and blue tape, we hung them off the bulkhead, and the kids were kicking and punching at the toilet paper rolls and stuff for timing.
Okay.
Anything Mr. J said he used to do, my kids wanted to come home and try.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. If he said he used to train like that, they were like, we got to do that, Dad. So that was outstanding. We did the training montage, and we went in because it was their first tournament.
Yeah.
And I hadn't gone for over 20 years.
Right.
So what other choice did we have, but to try to over prepare in the hope that, preparation and opportunity would make that magic of luck happen for us, you know. So we went out there. You went out there.
Yeah, I sure did.
So I'm really not telling you what happened so much as telling the people who are listening to this amazing podcast.
For sure.
Because real quick, I will pause that. Kim played the most vital role in this experience.
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
you better shut that down right now, bro.
Look, bro. There's an interesting thing about support and about people being in your corner.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I've never seen like a champion fighter or a champion match, whether that's Olympic Games, an ice skater, or anything, where you don't look over and see there's a few key people in their corner. There's not a whole throngs of people in their corner. There's just a very few.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's only maybe even one, right? Especially in like the awesome kung fu movies, it's just one Miyagi. And there's one Daniel-san.
Right.
So even though Mr. Johnson has been working with these guys, you are a bit like their Miyagi, you know, the way that you motivate them, the way that you believe in them. And so, you know, morning of this competition, I'm going to let you guys know, you know, you came through with supportive gifts. You know, you came through with encouragement and praise and belief. You addressed your best, you know, and they all got really fired up by that. And so then, not only that, but you decided to participate at the tournament as a judge, and it just so happened you got placed in a ring or two of theirs while they were doing their thing.
Right.
And there's oftentimes politics and some questionable behavior at tournament, and maybe in any scene where people are competing. I'm not sure, so I don't know how deep we'll go down that hole, but I felt like, you know, you stood in my kid's corner emotionally, and then actually authentically you represented as a fair black belt judge, and they performed well and they did an amazing job.
Oh, hell yeah, they did.
I was on
100%.
them.
100%.
But yeah, man, you supported us all the way through, and you believed in us, and you hyped it up, and then you even went old school, and you brought our buddy Keating out to be in my corner. And then, you know, it's like Mr. Dillard brought his alumni buddy, and then Grandmaster Warren ended up
Mike Warren, love that guy.
Invitation. And so the cast of all-star legend players that were in our corner for that day was such a blessing. And it was so exciting. I really could say a lot more things, but then they went out there and they went to work.
Yeah.
If we could keep it real and talk about the kids for 1 second, Sage, Peace, Justice, Elon, and Freedom, they all went out there and they did their thing, man.
Yeah, Sage was the one that clocked in first.
Sage came out. He took first place in form and first place in sparring.
Yeah.
And he got his 2 gold medals so fast. He was standing up on that number 1 block, and it was just like, he was like, this is what it's supposed to be, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that point, it was like, okay, message received. Is that what we got to do? All right, now my turn to clock in. Click.
Yep.
Next thing you know, Justice is clocking in. Next thing you know, Freedom is clocking in. Elon's clocking in. They're all going to work.
Yeah.
They're working.
Yeah. It was awesome. Megan took a lot of footage, and she is leaking it out. You know, we're leaking it out
bit by bit,
to give each child their chance to feel that highlight moment. But we're probably not going to put out as much content or footage, you know, as she captured, because she filmed a lot. But they realized how good they did when they saw themselves back. It was a beautiful thing to have the footage.
Yeah.
You know, and I think most athletes on a professional level do some of that as well, because it's really revealing. You can see your mistakes, of course, right there. You can't say you didn't make the mistake. You're looking at it.
Yeah.
But you can also see the things you did right. So sometimes I think a person, any artist, creator, can get in their head and get in their way about, did they do well? And so when you see the film back and the film looks sharp, and then your instructors are saying you did great, you're like, okay, I did great.
Yeah.
And that's important for young people, I think. Self-esteem is a big deal, and that's why we love martial arts, because it's a uplifting, it's a confidence boosting group, you know.
Before the you know, that event, before that day of the tournament, I mean, did you guys have like any like reservations or concerns? Because, you know, for your boys, that was the first time ever that they were going to go ahead and do something like that and compete. For you, it'd been like, you know, 20 some years since you last competed, so, you know, maybe the rules kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah, they were like appropriately nervous, but they did not have fear. Like they were not afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah.
I don't think I was afraid of them getting hurt.
Right.
I was intimidated about what it would be like for myself, you know, having taken that long of a break, not necessarily being familiar with who was going to be my
your opponent.
Yeah, my demographic, you know,
yeah.
how many people were going to be still training and all that kind of thing. So I was a little bit nervous. I thought it would be a silly experience to drive out there for a tournament just to come home injured. I mean, I got a construction company I'm trying to do.
Sure.
But I then realized, of course, some of that was in my head, and what was beautiful on my end of the experience was quite a few times I'd be having these thoughts and be talking about them with Megan, and then we'd go into class next couple days, and Mr. J was like bringing up some of the things I was talking about with Megan just naturally.
Yeah.
And the one day when him and I were talking, you know, he was telling me a bunch of stories about other tournaments and, you know, sharing with me some wisdom and stuff. And he just kind of said something about, you know, one of the people that he was going to take to tournaments trying to back out and saying they were scared, you know, they were feeling afraid. And he just said to me, you know, like, everybody feels afraid.
Yeah.
That's part of what you have to overcome to get out there on the floor.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he spoke to that fear that was slightly inside of me. He didn't know. I didn't really say to anybody. I'm like a little intimidated. So, but he spoke right to it, and it just squashed it. He made me feel like it was normal. It was all good. As long as it wasn't going to stop me, then it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And of course, it got transmuted as fear often does, which is misperceived as it's exhilaration, you know, it's enthusiasm, but we perceive it as fear. And then when you get into the moment, it transmutes itself into excitement, and it gives you actually some vital energy, maybe a little testosterone or whatever, adrenaline that you might need in the moment to actually do the thing you were going to go perform. So it's kind of like if you ask a great performer, a lot of times they'll say they're getting stage fright like right before, but it's not that there's any real fright. It's they know, that's going to turn me into the guy that I'm going to be when I start performing. I'm going to use that.
Sure.
So if they didn't feel that, it'd probably be more alarming. You know, like I feel totally normal. So wait, that's weird. I'm supposed to go perform.
Yeah.
So I think that as the training was happening, I started feeling more confident. We started sparring a whole bunch more in class and just kind of like getting the rust knocked off a little.
Yeah.
Mr. J showed us some sweet footage. I got to see Arden fight a little and Brian fight a little. It was like, that's what we do.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
That's how we move.
Yeah.
And so that was really beautiful too. And all those little pieces fell into place. So I think we all were like, had the right amount of readiness with some anticipation. Like we still don't know because it's been a long time.
I want to take a slight detour.
Okay.
And I want to hit you with something.
Fantastic.
Despite fear, I fight fear. You might hear, I'm still here. I'm quite clear. I'm quite near to the truth within, which is right here. It's right here. I'm hyped, dear.
Despite fear.
That's right.
I fight fear.
That's right.
100%.
That's right.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
When you stepped onto the floor and when you were suited up and ready to go, at what point did you feel most comfortable that you're like, okay, I'm just going to let it go and I'm going to fly?
I think it was somewhere between putting the tape around my big toe, which has been black because the nail wants to fall off for like 3 months.
Oh, man.
It just won't, it's taking a long time, big toe.
Right.
So I was wrapping up. So like if I can get home without, breaking this toenail.
Yeah.
But somewhere between taping my toe and getting the rest of my equipment on. It was really like, there was a trigger when I put the equipment on.
Yeah.
All my sparring gear. Because like, quite frankly, I hadn't put all the gear on at all. You know what I mean? I hadn't had the cup, the groin protection and the mouth guard and the feet and the hands and the headgear all on at the same time at all. Not once in the 30 days training and not once in the past 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Every time we move around in class, I usually don't have gear on. I usually don't get hit. It's not a big deal. That kind
Training
of thing.
Old school.
But going for the tournament, I'm like, I'm going to fight another grown man. I don't want to get kicked low, even accidentally. Got to just kind of, have all the proper precautions. So there was that sensation as I was putting all the gear on of like, you know, kind of a warrior putting on their armor.
Yeah.
And I felt, this is what I do, you know, in some kind of level.
Okay.
Kind of very similar to when I'm about to freestyle, I feel nervous, like, oh, I'm not, what if I mess up? And then as soon as I get the mic and it's my turn, oh, I go?
Yeah.
There's something about it, like I don't care anymore.
Right.
About that feeling I used to call fear. And
Right.
so like the energy from it is still there for me. It's in my body, but it's just now being utilized versus just sitting there looking at it and then trying to say, what is that called?
Right.
So maybe I just need to rename it. You know, never say I'm afraid anymore. Just say I'm excited. You know, I'm excited. Marie Forleo, in her book Everything is Figure Outable, talks about the feelings in the body to identify what is the emotion, and she talks about how excitement and fear show up physiologically in the body like almost identical.
Okay.
And it like runs up into the brain, and then you make these few subtle little shifts. I forget exactly what that makes you feel, oh, I'm afraid or I'm excited.
Right.
Because somebody sees a spider and they're like, ooh, that's cool. Someone else sees a spider and they're like, oh my gosh. So, you know, that excitement and fear trigger and the physiology behind it, like the sweating or the nervousness, some of those responses are literally the same.
I'm just going to make my own personal observation in that I feel like it started to click when you first got onto the floor, because the first division was the seniors men's forms division.
Correct.
And I felt like as soon as you got to the floor and, you know, Chiriak Kunye, Jumbi, and you were looking at, because I had the honor and pleasure to judge, you know, your forms division and your sparring division. And I just saw, like, you know, you had like the eye of the tiger. And at that point, it's just like as soon as you just kind of, you know, reached in for that first move, Gun Sengun, you know, with that X block and dropping in that deep Kima Jai, I knew at that point, at least in my opinion, I was like, this man is about to go to work. This man is he already clocked in. He already knows it's game time. He is about to go to work.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I felt like in sparring, maybe there was like the first 10 or 20 seconds of ring rust. Because, you know, it's been a while since you sparred in that type of capacity. But as soon as, you know, you had your movement around the floor, you know, you were moving with your feet, you just kind of let your thoughts flow and you're like, okay, this is the chess game that I remember. Let's go ahead and take that queen out immediately and put it in checkmate. Because I will say this, the first fight that you had, I felt like that was a no contest. I felt like the guy wasn't even there. And, you know, and for the, you know, those that are listening, guys, there is footage. It hasn't been leaked. There's 2 sources of this. But I can tell you right now, if Omar was in the NFL, he punted that guy about 70 yards back that way. The guy was flying like, oh my God! And then there was like a girl that was dressed up waiting for her division. She saw the Omar hit the front kick and the guy fall back. She was like, oh my God. It's like, dear God, child, it's all right. You know, this is what we're trained for. I mean, you know that's the program. So I don't know why you're turning around like you got disgusted. You start clapping, you know, appreciate good martial arts when you see it. But yeah, you know, I felt like at that point, in my opinion, I don't know what you think, but as soon as, you know, you got that first point, it just started to click, like almost instantaneously, like it never left you.
Yeah, muscle memory is a fun, fantastic, interesting thing.
For sure.
You know, the boys are familiar with it, with like riding a bike, and then with music, they'll like forget a song and then they'll kind of remember it, and all of a sudden they'll remember all of it.
Right.
And we had that experience when we were reviewing some of my forms, you know, some of our forms, some of
what we were taught.
The beautiful forms that we know, but like, you would show me one move and then it'd be like, and then is it this, and this? And you're like, that's right.
That's right.
And so that was a delightful experience. And it was a little bit like that. I almost felt like, oh, I'm getting warmed up now, just as the third fight was we were finishing up.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that's all the time we have, folks.
Yeah,
but,
pretty much.
I was like just starting to sweat a little, like, okay, this is nice. Because when class, and Mr. Johnson said that too, like, you always fight harder in class than you do at the tournament. It's like, because we just go in at class, and so a lot of times we'll fight for longer at class, or like we say, with no equipment or something, and then you get out there and do your thing. But
you know what, and I'm going to add this in there. It was a couple of times where, obviously, your boys know about the fact that Dad used to compete, and and he did win a grand championship. They obviously they weren't born at that time, when that happened. But to see it from their young eyes, to see their father compete, I think that it really blew them away. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is what Dad did, and that's what he's doing now." What? I mean, I can, there's the footage. Like, Freedom's like, "Go, Dad." I'm like, yeah. I can't say that because I'm judging, but yeah, that's exactly what I would say. Yeah,
it was cool. I gotta say, I don't think I heard anybody when I was fighting.
Yeah.
Like, if I think back to moments in the ring fighting, I'm like, can I even hear anything?
You probably couldn't, because you were too dialed in right at the mission.
So we've watched some of the footage back, and I'm hearing like what you're talking about. I'm hearing Sage, and I'm hearing Freedom, and I'm hearing Drew, and like everybody's coaching or comments and stuff.
Yeah,
like, everybody was in my corner, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, because again, Andrew Keating, old school AMAC student. Obviously I was there. Andre Dillard was there, mainly because he's originally from Pittsburgh, so for him it was like, okay, well, I can just go over there and visit some family and come to this event. Like you said, Mr. Johnson, Grandmaster Mike Warren, Grandmaster Frankie Calderon, who was promoted at that event at 8th degree black belt, which was awesome to see. I don't think I ever seen a tournament ever where somebody who is established like Frankie Calderon, who competed way back in the days of like, the Mike Warren era, the New York tournament with S. Henry Cho and stuff like that. And to be, promoted under Mike Warren and Mr. Johnson, I'm like, wow.
It was legendary.
Yeah, I mean,
it was legendary.
It's like seeing a unicorn. You're never going to see that stuff again.
Yeah,
So it's like again, I'll even go a little bit further. Like it's like seeing Halley's Comet. It only comes like every a few so many years. By the time that it's coming back again, I won't be around, but your kids will be around to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, we felt that way about the day, that it was very once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Not that we can't go to another tournament or any of those things, but that it was magical. That the way that it worked itself out, that Dad was doing his comeback, the kids were doing their first tournament.
Yeah.
We had to commit, because it was 4.5 hours. That's a big drive.
That's a big drive,
We couldn't drive there, do the tournament drive back. That was going to be too much. So we had to have 2 overnights at the hotel, double the cost,
Right.
There was a lot that was there, but then, like you just mentioned, the legends in the building, the promotion, halftime show that there was, and then, of course, the excitement that we all did well was a beautiful story to bring home. And man, it was magic all the way through and through. And then, March 2nd, that was my birthday, so
yeah,
we had a lot to celebrate.
We sure did, bro. Yeah,
we had a lot to celebrate when we came home.
And let's
awesome.
Let's review it. Sage, first place in forms, first place in sparring. Justice, first place in forms, first place in sparring. Which that first place in sparring was quite, a great story, and I'm going to let him talk about that.
Absolutely.
Freedom was thrown in the ringer where they were like, what, you're competing with the big boys in the older rank, and took away the second place in forms in a combined division. And I'll say it right now, if he was in his own division, easily could have been first, But the fact that you were second place to your brother Elon, who got first place in forms and second place in sparring, the fact that you were second place to him in a combined division says a lot about Freedom's ability and knowledge.
100%.
It's like, you know what? Yeah, you guys are doing this in college. I already did this in middle school. So imagine when I get to college, look how great I'm going to be.
Yeah, with the more advanced rank comes more difficulty with your forms.
Yeah.
So he was doing a lower rank form,
right?
And he did it so sharp and with so much power, it looked like a higher belt form.
Yeah, you couldn't even deny him.
Yeah, he could have had a higher belt on his waist, and the form still would have looked great. So as a yellow belt, he showed up outstanding.
Yeah.
There was nobody else, no other yellow belts.
Yeah,
so that's pretty impressive, and those are the kind of things that's additional to all of the other things we've mentioned about your training and your first time and stuff. So then you get out there and get that kind of a curveball at the tournament where you're in a different division with the advanced belts. That stuff's challenging. And they also had some of that, two children doing their form at the same time, which was challenging.
Was a little bit foreign to me.
So some of those curveballs, they overcame all that.
Yeah. But I think that was one of my biggest takeaways. Not to take away anything that, the other kids achieved. That is amazing. And not to take away what you achieved, because what you achieved was monumental, and we'll go back to that. But the fact that you told a yellow belt, you know what? There's only you. So guess what? We're going to throw you in a combined division. And Freedom's probably like, okay. Where? So you think I'm afraid? What? I'm just going to take it as a challenge. You think I was asleep? You just woke me up. Watch what I do. Because, I got the great teachers in the business that taught me what to do. I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah.
And basically, slapped him in the face and said, yep, silver medal's mine. Bye. I'm out. Deuces.
Yeah. Yeah, he did not place in sparring, but he did outstanding in his fights as well. You know what I mean?
You know what? Really, and well. I can't take it away from him because of the fact that, they always say that every person has their day. Maybe it wasn't his day that day, but the fact that, he still fought for his.
Oh.
And he was still willing to put his knowledge to the test shows how much of a warrior that young man is.
Absolutely.
And I feel like from that's just like the starting point. And if that's just the starting point, I can't wait to see what's in the middle of that race. Yeah. What's in the end of that race, because that spells potential. That spells a lot of potential. You can't tell me that that's not potential. If you told me that's luck, I'll be like, dude, obviously you haven't been training. You don't know what the situation is. Being that you competed and you did very well. First place in men's black belt forms. First place in men's black belt sparring. First tournament back. And you're going to the big show to compete in the grand championship rounds. First tournament back in over 20 some years. I mean, did it feel like, wow, I have accomplished a lot and it's definitely taken me to the promised land right now? Or did you feel like, it is what it is? Because that's something that's very uncommon. And you just made it common like drinking water.
Well, thanks for those kind words, Kim. I really appreciate that. It might have come off that way. I was, just like my children, kind of pleasantly surprised in looking back at the footage. Because it seemed like I looked a little more confident than maybe I felt, as I mentioned. I just did what I've been trained to do.
Right.
We have known for a long time that we were really blessed with amazing instructors. Mr. Amos Johnson and Mr. Arden Smith are just fantastic people. And
no doubt.
They poured so much into us. They cared so much about us. And they made us so great. they made us great. So like that I'm still great is kind of really a testament to them. And how amazing that their teaching really was, and how amazing AMAC really chose to do things. The strength of the basics that were still deep down in me to knock off that little bit of I like how you say ring rust. And then just to pick it back up because of how many times we just simply repeated the right thing. We just put in the good sweat equity, and we earned every class. And so that's, I think, what showed up. You know, even after 20 years of some dormancy, it just was able to come right back out to fruition because of how well it was really placed there. So, you know, I did try hard. And I put in some good work, and I am proud of myself. I do feel it was a special accomplishment. You heard my chiropractor, though.
Yeah, I was there this morning.
Kim took me out to the chiropractor just to make sure everything's up to snuff. You know, I hadn't seen him since the tournament, and when we were finished, which he gave me a good once over. Got the lasers on my legs and stuff.
Right, yeah.
He really took care of me. Yeah, lasers. Lasers are so cool. But yeah, he fixed me up, and then when we were walking out of the office, he looked at me, he's like, no more tournaments for a while, right?
Yeah, that's right. He did.
I was like, I don't think so. And he was like, okay, good. So he just like wants to keep me healthy and have me be healthy. He likes me when I'm jumping all around.
What was your takeaway after the tournament? I mean, you know, did you yourself surprise yourself and said, you know what, wow, I can't believe after 20 some years that, you know, I got double gold, you know, whereas, you know, there might be some people that would do the same thing, come back after 20 some years, and unfortunately sometimes they may come empty-handed. But you know, you took the highest accolades possible. You know, did you feel like you surprised yourself? And if you did, what did you feel like that you learned that day?
I knew I was capable of it.
Right.
And I do believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think I am surprised because we know how strong the politics are.
Yeah.
And so someone you haven't seen on the scene at all, to give them the first places is not usually what happens.
It's very questionable.
So it just speaks to, it was clear, and I showed up really sharp, and that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I also... all right, I'm going to reveal this.
Yeah, please.
I'm going to reveal this on the podcast. I had one secret tool, and it was a creative visualization protocol that I learned from a book.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first month that I was putting it into practice, and I chose to creatively visualize about the potential success of the tournament for me and my children.
Yeah.
So I was approaching it not as a skeptic, because I do understand and believe a lot of what's going on with this universe, the metaphysical laws of attraction and life and stuff. And so I was feeling good about it, but I was also approaching it very playfully and not necessarily knowing if in such a short period of time, even if it was a really awesome practice, if it was going to be able to show me any kind of results.
Right.
And so we can never say if it was one thing. Maybe it was that extra 10 rounds on the bag. Maybe it was the extra 5 times I practiced the form. But I visualized myself doing that form, I'm sure, 100 times in that month, if not more.
Yeah.
And I visualized my family, and I visualized our celebration and our feeling of camaraderie, and I visualized our dinner with you and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Warren, which didn't even actually happen.
No,
but I still visualized all of these beautiful results for the effort we were going to put in. So that we got beautiful results makes me say, yes, I was planning on that a little bit. That it went down the way in my heart I wanted it to go down. I wanted to be a champion, and I knew that I was, and I knew that I could be.
For sure.
But then when life really truly unfolds something in such a special way that you're like, is this real? You have to recognize that there was a space for me to be surprised. That actually whatever I thought I might have wanted, it came out even more than that, because my children were so amazing. And as I've mentioned multiple times, the support group, the uniqueness of that group of grandmasters, all in the lineage of AMAC, like all there to support AMAC's group, and just so happened to be me and my children that day. And it was so special. and such a blessing. And I think that actually has something to do with why we all did well, because of in the light of creative visualization and the idea of our power of our minds, the power of all of those minds then starts to speak to how well we did as well. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Warren, Mr. Keating, Mr. Kim, Mr. everybody, even though their children's mother was there cheering for them. You know, Megan held in her heart, these guys are gonna win no matter what. She had that level of belief. And so, you know, when the mind of man starts to believe in something, there's really no limit to what it can accomplish.
You know, I had the privilege of, you know, before this episode even got created, you know, I saw, you know, some footage from the perspective of Megan and some of the fights, you know, that happened. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the one thing that, you know, that really caught my eye that I was like, okay, yeah, was the fact that, you know, the embrace that you got from Mr. Johnson and the embrace that you got from Mr. Warren is kind of like their affirmation and their message that they were saying, like, you know, if I, you know, and I think I'm probably going to get shot for doing a Mike Warren impersonation, but Mr. Warren, if you're listening, I love you. I really do. You know, I have the highest level of respect for you, but you have to know, as an actor, sometimes I do these things. So, if you have any complaints about it, feel free to contact me and I will cease and desist. Other than that, please speak to my agent. That being said, you know, like I just imagine, like, you know, you giving Mr. Warren a dap and then Mr. Warren's like, Omar, that's some real good stuff, young brother. Good job. Congratulations. Like, man, you know, I wish I could probably do the same thing that you're doing right now, you know, or something like that, you know, at least in my imagination. But then again, you know, I feel like that's a sin for me even saying that, because, you know, when you, Mike Warren, as we both know, legend. Like, you know, like he was like our Michael Jordan. Like, wow, there was no other. And for him to give you congratulations and to give you love, and the fact that you have a picture of standing next to both Mr. Johnson and Mr. Warren together wearing that medal. Oh, come on, man. You can't not tell me that was a great feeling.
That was a great feeling, man. It was one of the highlights of my life, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You know, having my whole family there and supporting me like that, and then my extended AMAC family. And yeah, there's not a lot of cats who have that photo.
Yeah, they sure
you
don't.
Can't buy it. You can't Photoshop that photo.
Heck no, man.
You can't buy it, can't Photoshop it. And
No,
so,
sir.
and you know, RIP to Grandmaster Chuck Norris. You threw that out there the other day. Life is magical, and it's like a cobweb.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a spider web. It's very frail. And so the resilience that the human being has is amazing, and yet our fragility. Life can be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, anything can change, anything can happen. And so when we have these special, beautiful moments, it's important that we dwell upon them.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
That we capture them with a photo or two. And, you know, our motto, share stories, share life at Imagine Excellence, because that we think it's really important. If you have something magical, that you share it with other people.
Going forward, what happens now? I mean, are you considering or even entertaining deep in your mind that, you know, maybe I can do another tournament at a certain point within, you know, the calendar year? Or do you want to focus more on just, like, you know, you as a martial artist training in the martial arts that you do? Where do you go from here?
That's a cool question, because we all came back from the tournament, and like the next day, like I said, it was my birthday. So let me be clear. The tournament was the 28th. We drove home on Sunday. That was our travel day.
Right.
So the next day of us being home was my birthday.
Yeah.
And we brought like extra continental breakfast and stuff.
Oh.
So for my birthday, we had some.
Shout out to the Holiday Inn.
Shout out to the Holiday Inn.
We love that continental breakfast, guys.
Yeah, we had some cinnamon buns and some fruit and some clementines and stuff.
Yogurt was on point.
Yep, yogurt.
Oh my god.
So we're sitting there eating breakfast, you know, for my birthday, and I was just like real kind of casual. I was like, so who wants to go to another tournament? But everybody,
right.
Immediately, everybody put their hands up, and me too, and Meg too. We all put our hands up, and was like, wow, okay, we all want to do this again. So in that moment, of course, the high from the experience was like, we want to do this again, and that makes a lot of sense. Practically speaking, maybe another tournament this year would really be cool for me personally. It would be fun to get another chance to do that grand champion senior form and get the trophy, because we there's a little controversy about potentially how they ran that division there at the end of the day, and so I would like to see more grand champions given out than they gave out. But I think in my history as a martial artist, I've done a few things. And I haven't done it all. I've done a few things, and one of the things I've done is grand champion for fighting, and it'd be nice to maybe do a grand champion form. So that's just potentially in my heart. I say, hey, I think I could hit that target if I shoot for it, and that might be fun. The children are definitely going to go to a few more tournaments. It's obvious they want to. It's obvious that they deserve the chance to shine. And especially as they get a little bit more advanced, 3 out of 4 of them were yellow belts, and that's pretty new to the art in general. Now we both know they're pretty advanced for their belt rank, because their knowledge is very strong. They're studious and they're disciplined, and they put in a lot of extra hours. But as they achieve blue belt, brown belt and above, moving towards black belt, a lot of times it's like, I get my black belt, that can be the beginning for a lot of people, and I have a hunch it might be that way for these guys, that the black belt could just look like the starting line for what they might like to do. I certainly know I felt that way, and I think you did as well. You came off and on a little bit, but once you hit black belt, then it was like, okay, this is me. So we'll see how that goes, but I would definitely think this year could be at least 1 or 2 more for them. And even if we just go to a few to see what's going on, continue to spark their creativity and their interest. And even like Mr. J was pointing out, lessons, you learn all kinds of lessons, and you could learn what to do and what not to do just by going out there and hearing a few other cats and seeing what they do. So super great experience.
2 points. One, going back to what you had said, the expenses of actually going to a tournament, preparing for a tournament, and so forth, I mean, it does add up. Because, you have to think, okay, I, along with my 4 sons, we all want to compete. That's a lot of capital right there.
Sure.
And if, let's say, for example, the tournaments in Pittsburgh, now we got to throw in, cost of gas to travel over there. We have to think about the cost of accommodations and so forth. I'm not saying it's a waste of money, but it's a hefty investment. That, and I definitely will have to put that out there in the forefront right there and there. The second thing that I want to point out there, and it's more of a question, do you think now that the family is more, not just your family here, but the whole entire Richter clan, do you think that they're locked in now to the fact that, wow, they're all training again and so forth, and we embrace that wholeheartedly?
Definitely. When we did the little, was really like a white belt test I had way back, Elon, I gave him the challenge of teaching Justice and Sage how to walk in chungo stance and how to do their chemo punching. So I could test them for... But then I really actually had him do that too. That was part of how he became such an advanced yellow belt, because I was having him, work with the other guys. And my mom shouted, "AMAX back!" And we laughed because it's like we got these little kids, and that was really fun. But then that was a bit of a prophecy that's now come to pass. So she couldn't be more tickled. She said, "I want to get back in there."
I remember.
You think I could still do it? This kind of thing. And so, also, Rocco's children, he's, they're getting, once they get 4, 5, 6, around 6, they start looking like prime
candidates.
Yeah, that's right.
To be potential students.
So we've got
Rocco, you got to train him up right now, sir.
Exactly.
Train him up while you still can.
It's in the blood. It's in the town. It's local, so it's really exciting. And yeah, I think that the martial arts is going to keep on going.
Ooh, thank you. We got some beverages going on over here. My fat-free water, like that. Mm-hmm. Straight from the tap. Love it. All right. That being said, I mean, I could talk about martial arts all day, but I think I'm going to skip to another curveball. There have been talks about there might be, and I want to get it straight from the source, that we actually might get a part 2 of Beneath the Ice poems from the deepest. Like there might be a sequel. Can you comment on that? Can you confirm that? Can you at least maybe, like, if it's not fully confirmed, can we say that's definitely in the pipeline at a certain point? What do you think?
Well, you got me cheesing over here, Kim. Put me on the spot, asking about the sequel. But I will say that the sequel's coming out.
Okay.
We're definitely putting a sequel out.
Okay.
And that's one of our top projects right now.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm happy to leak it out now because it's going to be coming around the mountain soon, and I'm going to want to be blasting everybody all about it. Because it revealed itself. I really didn't think there was going to be a sequel. Mm-hmm. I felt it was similar, like, an analogy of black belt being the beginning for some people and being like, that was the end of my journey. I trained for 5 years. I became black belt. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So for other people, it's like, I'm black belt. Now it's time to go to tournament and teach and give back and go for degree. And so it strikes people differently, this idea of beginning or, the end. But I saw Beneath the Ice as a fruition of something, a completion of something. Mm-hmm. We had achieved over 5 full years of doing the Wim Hof method. I wanted to kind of sort of say some kind of a thank you, and it was just like an kind of an idea. I'll put all my poems in a book and I'll mail it to Wim, and I'll be like, thank you. And then it's actually exactly what I did. I basically wrote my thank you letter to him, and that became the introduction to the book. And I put all the poems that I felt had really been evoked from all this getting into the cold, and going to the deepest in my heart and being a spiritual person. And so when I sent that to him, I thought, wow, that was really just a beautiful thing. But of course, the poetry hadn't stopped flowing and didn't stop flowing, and we haven't stopped going to the deepest, into the cold. And of course, breath work, always doing breath work, because that's another big part of the Wim Hof method. Well, when you're demonstrating discipline, it's like if you just sit and watch people breathe, it's not very exciting.
Yeah.
So me and Meg didn't make 100 videos of us sitting and doing breath work. We made videos of us doing the maybe slightly more adventurous, slightly harder challenge of getting into the ice water.
Right.
No matter what the season is, no matter what the temperature, just do this hard thing.
Yep.
And we thought this is pretty cool because not everybody can do this, and it's harder than it looks, and it's just simply overcoming challenge, which a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
So if you can apply this idea of like you can overcome challenge, this is what we were demonstrating. Well, the whole time we've been doing breath work alongside with cold exposure, because that's the method. That's the Wim Hof method.
Yeah.
So as it turns out, the cold exposure became a little bit more like the forefront of the number one pillar we were talking about and sharing about.
Yeah.
But then the other pillars are number one, breath work, and then the third pillar is your commitment. Mm-hmm. So your mindset, because you can't just give up on yourself in 2 or 3 months or whatever.
Right.
If you're going to go for the gold or whatever, you got to give it more commitment than that. So the third pillar is mindset. Those are the 3 pillars. So then Beneath the Ice has been the pillar of cold, and the book that's going to come out, the sequel, is really standing on the pillar of the breath work.
Okay.
And then the third pillar is me completing both books. That's my commitment. So that's what I realized for myself. I was like, oh, it macrocosmed out into, now I actually have to have a strong sharing with my poetry about this other side, the breath side of it.
Right.
And so it's kind of like I say, the cold takes you to the deepest, and the breath takes you to the highest mountain peak. And that's where they're the parallel opposites to learn all about yourself.
Let me use this analogy because I'm going to put it as a question. Knowing that you just confirmed that, you know, a sequel will happen and that, you know, obviously the process is there. If this was an NBA basketball game, where are we at right now in the game? Are we literally starting at the first quarter? Are we at the first half? Are we like in the third quarter? Where are we at?
I love your analogies, Skimp. But I mostly love because a lot of times you keep me with like basketball or martial arts, which is like my two jams. I can follow these analogies pretty well.
Yeah.
And then of course, when you're talking about fighting like a chess match, I always love that. I really appreciate that. Some people get lost. Like, dude, give me some kicks and punches, and you're like, no, man, we move the rook, and then we sideswipe with the knight. And not everybody knows what we're talking about.
No, they don't. That's an AMAC thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That is an AMAC thing. They don't know about that.
Right.
That is us.
Hey, they don't know what they don't know.
My guy.
For sure. For sure. So, that being said, I think we're starting the fourth quarter.
Really?
Yeah, we've been behind the scenes working really hard.
Okay.
And I think that the fourth quarter is climactic and a lot can happen.
Yeah.
And so, of course, it's crunch time. And we've created a few deadlines that are mostly like in our mind as good goals to be excited about. Mm-hmm. But we would like to see it. We would like to see it come to its fruition pretty soon.
When do you think that, you know, if you were to guesstimate, now I'm not saying, you know, give me a definite time frame, but if you were to guess in a ballpark figure, when do you think that this thing will finally be put to rest so that you can actually mass produce your work?
Absolutely. And sit down for our next episode and talk about it. I think we're smelling spring in the air, and by the time we're smelling summer, it'd be really great to think that this thing's going to be available for everybody.
Okay.
So maybe sooner, but I think that that's what we're shooting for. It'd be awesome to have the project completed, you know, somewhere in the middle of the year so we could have the second half of the year to really share it and go around and talk about it, because we even think it's going to re-evoke some of what people maybe wanted to know about from the first book that never really quite came up, you know, in conversation. Just like the real healing of trauma that's available through the cold. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of hit surface level of like physiologically beneficial for the average person. Lose a little weight, get a little extra energy,
for sure,
feel good about yourself, a dopamine hit for the day.
Yep.
But the real deal about the cold is it goes to the lymphatics, it goes deep to the cellular tissue, brings out, you know, memories and stored trauma in the body, that when that stuff is released, then you start feeling like you're living on cloud nine, like you're authentically, as Wim Hof says, high from your own supply. You know, you're feeling the joy of life because it's available. Like what you were feeling when we first started this episode of like, when I do my podcasting, I feel great. I'm in my joy. Yeah. That's what translates for people to enjoy listening and experiencing the art on the other side, obviously. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a deeper conversation about healing because of the cold, and it's going to come out, I think, because we're going to talk about the breath.
Right.
You know, and so the breath is the gift of life. It goes through all of our temple, and it has the ability to help us illuminate and heal us. And so I think that's how that's going to segue. We're going to talk about the breath a little with the new book and then some of the newer poetry, and it's going to bring us over here into the real healing that can occur from cold exposure. And that's part of what I'm really all about right now, is healing, helping people heal myself, heal my heart, heal my mind, and then I can enjoy life as much as I possibly can.
And well, when it is actually done and completed and everything, are we going to be able to access it like your first one on Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to publish it through the same publication company, so it will be available on Amazon as a book, be a paperback, hard copy, or else also Kindle.
Okay.
You know, audiobook.
Yeah. Man, again, you know, I feel like I could talk about this forever, but the fact that, you know, we were able to do a round two, it's special. You know, the fact that, you know, I'm actually, you know, I'm not talking to my friend right now. I'm talking to my brother. You know what I mean? And like I said in the first one, and I don't think that many people understand and realize the relationship that Omar and I had. You know, when I first met him, I met him and Sam when Rocco and Shaman were about to test for their 2nd degree black belt test, which was the same day that my cousins Hun and Huyen Dao were testing for their 2nd degree black belt test. And then, you know, later on when I think I started to know Sam a little bit first because, you know, he was the older one. But then later on that you came along and, you know, even though that you were, you know, a little bit younger, I didn't look at you at that perspective like, oh, he's just a young teen, blah 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 blah. I just thought, man, this guy he's a real cool individual, very knowledgeable. Obviously, you know, he's on point when it comes to the material and knowledge that he's learning. So I felt like that kind of overshadowed the fact that like you were like maybe 16 or 17. I saw you as a grown-ass adult, you know, and the fact that, you know, we have maintained our friendship throughout the years from then to now, it's a special one. You know, it really is. And the fact that, you know, obviously you did a lot more in the martial arts and, you know, I was trying to catch up, and the fact that, you know, that we're both thirds under a great teacher, like, you know, it's an amazing feeling. And the fact that, you know, you're still in my life to this day, I can't thank you enough for just, you know, sharing this moment with me. So, you know, I want to say thank you for that. And thank you for all that you've done for me and teaching me and helping me grow in my path in AMAC. You know, I never forgot it. I never forgot it. I always kept it like, you know, the list of people that I have to thank. Every time that there was a black belt speech, I had to include you and the family in it because, you know, you paved the way for individuals like me to grow and to succeed in wanting to be a martial artist. So I thank you for that.
I receive that, Kim. I receive that, and you are most welcome. And I appreciate our friendship as well. And my side of it is that I was welcomed in by a group of older, cooler people who saw me as equals.
Yeah.
You know, and so I felt the way that you just expressed that you perceived me. I felt that from you, and so that meant a lot to me, you know, that we got past that little bit of, you know, the guys who are 4 or 5 years older than you, they're cooler than you, they're bigger than you, better than you, right. You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And because of the friendships and the way that unfolded with you being good friends with Andrew and him being good friends with John and Sam becoming good friends with John, and then the four of you guys started hanging out, and then just next thing you know, I was winged right in and felt like part of the group. And that's some of my best childhood memories come from being included, you know, in that way. And so I'm sure that boosted my confidence and has carried me in my life. So I want to give it back to you, man. Thank you for your friendship and your outstanding loyalty to me and my family.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. And you know, we gotta do a round 3 at a certain point in time. Like I'm telling you this right now. Round 3 has to happen sometimes down the road.
For sure.
And I'm not saying that it's going to be next week. But I'm just saying, like, let's make a pact that, you know, round 3 will happen somewhere down the road, and hopefully we can do this sooner than later.
That sounds fantastic, brother.
Nice.
Count me in.
Nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You know, I don't think that there's really anything more that I have to say other than the fact that, you know, that was a 3-pointer from downtown. Perfect. Nothing but net. You know, you can't like AI any of this stuff up. This stuff is real. It's genuine. The stuff that happened was real. If you weren't there, sorry for your luck, but you know, we wouldn't say it if we didn't mean it. So trust and understand that everything that we talked about today is autobiographical, and there is documentation. Just because you can't see it and you don't have access to it does not mean that it wasn't recorded. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and start ending this out in the proper way. Ladies and gentlemen, follow your boy on a lot of social media pages. You can find me on Facebook. Just go under the search box, the Kim Hwang Podcast Experience. I am there. Also, I am also on other platforms of social media, Instagram and Twitter, now known as X. Find me under my tag name at TKHPC Experience, all in one word, lowercase letters. Follow your boy and I'll follow you back. We are on a lot of podcasting platforms up the wazoo. Yes. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Please like, follow, and subscribe to my podcast on all those aforementioned podcasting platforms. Do your boy a favor. If you have Spotify, please give me a 5-star ranking. We would love you and appreciate you. If you have Apple Podcasts, and for those that are iPhone owners, you know Apple Podcasts is absolutely free. Or if you have it on your, Mac computer or iPad or whatever, just give us a 5-star ranking, please, and a positive written review, because the more times you do that, then our podcast will actually be thrown into the front of the lines in both podcast platforms. And so that somebody might look at that and be like, hey, this is the Kim Hwang Podcast Experience. I heard about this because my friend Claire was talking about this last week, and she said it was really cool. Maybe we should follow, and subscribe to it. Yes, and yes. Also, do your boy a favor. Please promote the show. Whether if you want to share it on your social media pages. Again, we have a lot of social media, the Facebooks and the X and the Instagrams, and there's the Snapchats, there's the TikToks, or, in person, if like a coworker, a family member, or, a neighbor, let them know about the Kim Hwang Podcast Experience. That is what they call brand awareness. Sharing is caring, and we do appreciate that. Last but not least, if you want to be a special guest on my show, if you want to be a special guest host, if you have any constructive criticism, or for those moments where I actually do my own solo episode and you got a question for our Q&A, hit me up. Yes, email the guy, the Kim Hwang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put it on the subject box. In the body of the email, write out whatever you need to write it out. And then there's that thing called send. You send out the email, and I will get a notice. And then within maybe a day or two, I will give you a response back, because I like that type of communication. Last but not least, guys, please be safe out there. It's already bad enough that, we are living in hard times, and, people go through some stuff, whether, if it's that you have like a mental health crisis and it's out of control, or just people being negative. We need to be understanding of one another. We need to love one another and support one another. Do great things and be safe out there. It doesn't do us any good if, unfortunately, you get stuffed in a pine box and get buried 6 feet under. We don't want that to happen. We want you to live, healthy, happy. We want you to strive to do your very best. We want you to, earn all that you want and a whole lot more, because you deserve it. And anybody else tells you otherwise, just Mike Warren would say, Kim, you need to give them 6 inches of reverse punch so they can feel the damn thing, because sometimes you have suckers out there that you punch them, they don't feel it, but when you drill in that extra 6 inches, that's 6 inches extra of telling you, I got you, because I bust you. So yeah, remember the 6 inches. Mr. Warren, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. God bless you, and I love you. So yeah, that's it. Again, I want to thank my friend, my brother, my senior black belt, someone that I have so much love and respect for, Omar J. Richter, to spend time with us here at on the podcast in his beautiful creative home that's filled with a lot of creative energy. I might have to run it again sometime here in this lovely establishment, because I'm already feeling the creative juices, and it's wonderful. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, for my guest Omar J. Richter, He's also the man with the plan, the guy that can bring the power within the hour, and the guy that doesn't have just a single trick because he can hit you with that horse kick. I am the Asian sensation. I am the host with the most. I am the man with the plan. I am the guy with the power that can bring it with the hour. I am the dude that has the right attitude, and I am the one that brings in the fun. Saying that I am your boy, Kim Hwang, the Asian sensation, saying thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Kim Hwang Podcast Experience. We are going to do it again, and I promise you, it'll be, a lot of love, a lot of great energy, a lot of good times, and a lot of opinions that I got to get off my chest. So for the one time, here somewhere in the beautiful state of Maryland, I got to get out of here, y'all. It has been real, and it's been fun. We'll check you out on the next one. Peace.